Tensions between Beijing and Taipei flared again on Wednesday as China's Taiwan Affairs Office publicly condemned Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te's participation in a major international democracy gathering in the Danish capital, branding it a calculated act of political subversion dressed up in democratic language. On Tuesday, President Lai Ching-te addressed the 9th Copenhagen Democracy Summit via video at the invitation of the Alliance of Democracies Foundation. In his recorded remarks, Lai declared that Taiwan is a sovereign and independent country with the right to engage the world. He also cited China's alleged interference with his recent flight to Eswatini, Taiwan's only African ally, as evidence of what he described as authoritarian regimes attempting to impose their rules on the world. Lai stressed that no democracy can afford to stand on the sidelines in the face of expanding authoritarianism, and argued that only when democracies around the world stand together in unity can a more resilient line of defense for the free world be built. He thanked Taiwan's democratic partners for speaking out with moral clarity, saying each of those voices serves as a powerful deterrent to aggressors and forms a shield in defense of shared values. The Taiwanese president also stressed that Taiwan is willing and able to contribute to the world, whether by leveraging its technological strengths to establish trusted and resilient democratic supply chains, or sharing its experience of confronting authoritarianism from its position at the center of the First Island chain. The Taiwanese people have every right to engage with the international community, and they are more than capable of contributing to it, he said. Beijing's response was swift and sharply worded. At a regular press briefing in the Chinese capital, Zhang Han, spokesperson for the State Council Taiwan Affairs Office, dismissed the entire affair in uncompromising terms. She said, "The Lai Ching-te authority are accustomed to swindling the international community under the guise of democracy. They seek to win over anti-China forces in certain countries using so-called summits to spread a false narrative of democracy versus authoritarianism, incite cross-strait confrontation, and engage in separatist activities. This is nothing more than a total political farce." Zhang's remarks were pointed in their framing of the summit as little more than a vehicle for what Beijing characterizes as separatist agenda setting on the international stage, an allegation Taiwan's government consistently rejects. The spokesperson did not stop there. She also issued a direct warning to international organizations and democratic groupings that have given Taipei platforms to speak, making clear that Beijing views such engagement as a red line. She said, relevant organizations should fully recognize the high sensitivity of the Taiwan question and the grave dangers of supporting Taiwan independence separatist activities. They should strictly abide by the One China principle and cease providing any platform or convenience for the Democratic Progressive Party, DPP authorities to pursue independence on the international stage. Zhang also struck an uncompromising note on the broader question of Taiwan's status, insisting that there is only one China and that Taiwan is part of it, a position Beijing describes as an undeniable historical and legal fact. Taiwan has never been a country. It was not one in the past, and it absolutely will not be one in the future, she said, adding, no matter how many times Lai Ching-te repeats his lies, a lie told 1,000 times remains a lie and can never become the truth. On the question of Beijing's resolve, Zhang left no ambiguity. Our resolve to oppose Taiwan independence is as firm as a rock, and our capability to crush Taiwan independence is unbreakable, she declared. The timing of these remarks carries particular weight. The United States remains Taiwan's most important international backer and arms supplier, despite the absence of formal diplomatic ties between Washington and Taipei. In December, the Trump administration announced an $11 billion weapons package for Taiwan, the largest ever, a move Beijing has consistently condemned. The Taiwan question is also widely expected to feature prominently in high-level talks between President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping this week. At the same briefing, Zhang urged Washington to adhere to the One China principle and the Three China-US joint communiques, handle Taiwan-related issues prudently, stop arms sales to Taiwan, and refrain from sending what she called wrong signals to independence-leaning forces. The Copenhagen Democracy Summit, held on May 12 at the Royal Danish Playhouse, brought together figures including Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, former Canadian Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, former U.S. National Security Advisor Joe Bolton, along with academics, civil society organizations, and democracy advocates from across Europe and North America. Taiwan's participation, even via pre-recorded video, was enough to trigger Beijing's formal rebuke, underscoring just how sensitive Taipei's international visibility remains for the Chinese government. For its part, President Lai framed Taiwan's moment at the summit around the 30th anniversary of the island's first direct presidential election, casting it as a milestone in democratic self-determination that no external pressure could erase. The exchange captures in sharp relief the enduring and deepening fault line between Taipei's push for international recognition and Beijing's insistence that the world must choose a side, and that only one side is permissible. Beijing's position on reunification, meanwhile, remained consistent with its long-standing narrative. Zhang reiterated that peaceful reunification and one country, two systems remains what Beijing considers the best path forward, arguing that such an outcome would strengthen Taiwan residents' sense of cultural identity, expand development opportunities, and enhance overall social well-being on the island. It is a framing that Taipei has long rejected, and one that finds little traction among Taiwan's broader population, which polls consistently show favors maintaining the status quo over unification on Beijing's terms. What makes this latest episode particularly significant is its broader geopolitical context. Beijing's pushback against Lai's Copenhagen appearance is not merely a bilateral spat. It is part of a wider campaign to shrink the international space available to Taipei, pressuring multilateral organizations, democratic alliances, and even private institutions to distance themselves from any engagement that could be interpreted as lending legitimacy to Taiwan's self-governance. Each time a world leader shares a platform with Taiwanese officials or an international body grants Taipei a speaking role, Beijing responds with a calibrated warning. Wednesday's press briefing was precisely that, a signal delivered publicly and on the record that the costs of engaging with Taiwan diplomatically will be met with firm and vocal opposition from the Chinese government.